Hey, Dom.
Oh yeah, it's probably a bit dark in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Turn the light on.
What time is it there?
7 a.m. Yeah, I was just doing a meditation and then suddenly remembered you had a Wednesday meeting, so I looked up the time and it was exactly seven um, on the dot. So I just clicked on. Yeah,
Yeah, good one. Yeah. So tell me about your meditation.
I was actually doing a guided meditation. It was Todd, Todd Lent,
Yep, yep, and that's right.
um, and it's called Even the Big Self Doesn't Exist. It's just a um, it's just a meditation to observe uh, impermanence and all the stories you have about the self and uh, yeah, history, your history and everything, and just sort of seeing if you can just sort of
Yeah,
tune into what's happening in the moment, and you know that's not in the stories.
good stuff. Yeah. So you're able to see what he's pointing to?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've done a fair bit of exploration into the senses and noticing the stories, and I've done things like Byron Katie work and things like that, where you sort of question the thoughts. And um, I've just finished the sort of Theta One sort of course,
I don't
and
know.
it's got a lot of. You don't know that one? Okay. It's on their website. They have a kind of course that has lots of videos and kind of
All right,
required
yeah.
practices and um, yeah, and I've sort of a lot of them I'm quite familiar with already. So you know, I haven't, I got guided through the first three fetters a few years ago, and then I stopped doing that, and then I've circled back round and I've started doing the 10 fetter work. Um, and yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not really sure where I'm at with it.
Well,
One of those.
that's good to hear because I'd be worried if you said you were sure. Yeah. So, how much triggering happens for you these days? How often do you find yourself feeling something unpleasant?
Oh yeah, on a regular basis.
Like
Yeah.
daily?
I mean, um, probably, yeah, probably. I mean, to a lesser or greater. I give you an example. Uh, Day before yesterday. So I recently filmed a short film that I've been working on for a while. And the shoot went well, and everything felt good. And then I saw the first assembly, what they call the rough cut, the very first assembly, on a couple of nights ago. And it always happens, and I've made a lot of, I'm a filmmaker, so I'm familiar with the process. But I saw the rough cut, and my heart sank, and I just was like, I was just in a bad mood all night, because it's like it's always the same, but it's like, oh, this is awful. It's going to be dreadful. I'm going to be sort of humiliated after all this work, and
So, did
and,
you,
and I know it's like,
as you were experiencing those stories, were you aware that they
yeah,
were stories, or were you
yeah.
just
I mean,
lost in it?
it's a mixture because I feel it in my body. It's like, um, and I went for a sauna with my wife up the road in a community sauna, and I wasn't able to be sociable or very nice, or at the same time I was saying, look, this happens all the time. It's just these stories, I mean, there's that sort
Yeah.
of awareness there, and I know it's going to pass, and I know it's just what flares up for me,
Mm.
but it's still quite strong
Yeah.
what's
So are you
happening.
curious as to why it still flares up for you? Or do you have a story about that too?
I guess I have a story about that too,
Mm.
yeah.
And the story is
And
that
that,
you're not progressed enough.
yeah, that I'm still identified with my sort of identity as a sort of creative person, or that, that's an attachment or something like that.
Okay, so this is really big. This is huge. So the idea of what is identification? Well, you kind of can't be identified if you know you're identified. But the
Okay,
body can still react like you are. So do you get that
right.
that it takes a while for the body to catch up with what you know?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, I think I get that because I think I've, had some realization, some insight, but and then sometimes I know it's happening, but it kicks off this. I call it my red zone.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
where
so do you see your red zone not as something to cure or fix, but as you being presented with an opportunity?
much more so now. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's that's shifted probably in the last year because I had this kind of battle with anxiety up till then, you know, where it was like I'd wake up with what I called morning anxiety, and it was like all about how can I cure this,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and that's shifted now to sort of, I guess, making space for it, or something, um, and yeah, trying to allow the body to go through what it needs to go through.
Mm. Well, it will
Um,
go through whatever it needs to go through, won't it? I mean, you don't have a choice about that, do you?
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if this unpleasant experience turns up, and it's obviously a bodily thing and a mental thing, and well, it's a whole experience, right? And
Absolutely.
part of that experience is going to be, I don't want this.
Yeah.
But now here's a big one. Do you get that the I don't want it is just as much a part of it as any other part of it? It's not added to it.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
Okay. I suppose, yeah, I suppose I have the idea that I could drop the resistance to it, which I suppose
Yeah,
is,
which you
yeah.
can't because it's already there,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
And you can. And what about the
Yes.
resistance to the resistance? That's a real thing too. Okay, here is the I
Yes.
don't want it, and then I want to drop that. So I'm judging that
Yeah.
as not appropriate, right?
Yes, that's
But
right.
have you,
Yeah.
have you gone the next step and judged the resistance to the resistance?
No, no, I don't think I have. No.
Now, if you get that far, what about dropping the resistance to the resistance to the resistance? That
Right.
kind
Yeah.
that starts to get ludicrous, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, then there's a resistance to the resistance to the resistance to the resistance. Right? And at some point, or right about now, you start laughing because the whole thing's rather hilarious. And guess what? At that point, there's no more resistance.
Right. Yes.
So having no control and no choice is way more than an intellectual understanding. It's
Mm.
a flavour of everything that turns up.
Yes.
So if you know it, it's already done and dusted because your awareness lags by some milliseconds to the actual experience.
Yes, I like that. Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, how crazy is it to want it to be different when it's already done?
Yeah.
So you can see there's another reason, another display of why you've got no control. You've only got control of something that's either yet to happen or is in the act of happening. And your awareness is not fast enough to catch that. It'll only get what's already there.
Yeah.
It kind of leaves you in a funny place, doesn't it?
Yeah. Does. Yeah. Suppose it's back to that notion to that sort of question of doing, you know.
Yeah. So you say a question of doing. You've not yet seen that that is a concept that we can overlay what actually happens, but it's not a good description of what actually happens.
Um, I think I've sort of seen that, but at the same time, my mind jumps back to, you
Of
know,
course, of course,
um,
we've been trained to that one, haven't we?
yeah, um, yeah. It's just a bit of a mind bender because it's sort of like, okay, there's no doing, there's no agency, no self, that sort of thing. Then it's my mind kind of goes, well, what's happening then? I mean, what's practice? You know, what's this conversation? It's all it's all
Well,
just what is unfolding, and that's that.
exactly, but and where it's coming from, we can't know. We can we
Mm,
can we can weave a story about it, and the best story I've got is that it's a result of all of the conditions that are involved in it. Right, the conditions
yes,
that here you are talking with me, the conditions that said you've got a computer, you've got internet, you've got the ability to talk the same language as me, etc. There's all of the conditions involved in my being here. There's a million conditions that add up to this
yeah,
happening. It's beautiful to describe it as a happening because we're not ascribing motivation or intent or control to it. It's just happening. And that's
yes,
just a way of us saying, well, we don't know all of the conditions involved. There's too many of them. And they're
mm,
not, a lot of them are out of our awareness, let alone out of our influence. Well, sure, we influence some of them, but accidentally, the intent.
yes,
I mean, what caused you to look at the clock and go, oh, I wonder if there's a events meeting on now, right? Circumstances.
yeah. That's just
Yeah,
a billion, 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 billion to one. You
yeah.
know,
So here's an interesting one. This is a big one. This blew me away when I got it. Let's say your computer is one of the conditions involved in us having this conversation. Then
yeah,
you can see that part of the conditions that brought about the creation of the computer was a whole lot of people all over the world, people in China,
yeah,
right?
Yes.
And then there were the
Yes.
people that made the chips and so on. But then what about
Mm.
their parents? Their parents had to be
Yeah.
healthy enough to
Yes.
breed. And what about their parents? And
Mm.
if we follow it back, everything that has ever happened, ever, since the beginning of existence, if that's such a thing, are all involved in us being here right now, in this. Every bit of it
Yes.
was necessary exactly the way it happened for this to be the way it is now. It's kind
Yes.
of crazy.
Yeah.
It's if that butterfly in the Amazon didn't flap its wings, this would be different.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? But it shows you that that how can there be any such thing as separateness when everything and everybody is involved? Even that person we don't know who's having that particular thought is necessary.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
You can't get your mind around it. It's just too big.
Mm. Yeah, the mind doesn't like it. It wants to sort of shrink things back down to a more manageable sort of.
Yeah. I love the word simplistic. That's the mind's main function. Make everything simplistic so it can describe it
Mm.
and own it. Yeah. But that's just shitty conditioning we've been brought up to believe. I mean, just think about it. In kindergarten, we were already applauding the smart kids and feeling sorry for the dumb kids. And the
Mm.
further through school we went, the more important it was to be smart. And so we've put mental acuity on a pedestal all our life.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And here we are at this end of whatever we've gone through, realizing that that's just a cage we built for ourselves.
Mm.
We've got this really, really interesting and unfathomably complex brain that the neurobiologists would say they would describe it as a predictive organ, and it seems to
Yes.
work by predicting things. And
Mm.
it's a labour-saving thing that it will come to conclusions with a minimal amount of data input, and
Yeah.
and so it jumps to conclusions all the time. And now that works really well for a lot of things. It saves us a lot of energy. We don't have to hear the whole
Mm.
story to get it. You know, we can tie our
Mm.
shoelaces without even looking at them, let alone thinking about it. You know, so
Yeah.
all of these things work really well. And then we come to realise that a lot of what we take to be the world is not at all what it actually is. It's just the way we've interpreted it. It's the way our brain has come to conclusions about it. And
Yeah. My
so,
mother has got this eye condition. It's like macular degeneration where the
yeah, yeah, I
retina
know it. Yeah,
deteriorates
yeah. She
and
can only see at the
basically,
corner of her eye. Yeah.
yeah, well, it distorts and there's pieces missing in the image. And what's quite common, and she started to have it, is that she starts to see things.
Mm.
So she saw
Because
her father in the garden, and she sees animals in the kitchen and things like that because
yeah,
her brain
yeah,
just starts to
yeah, it
interpret
fills it
stuff
in.
that's
Yeah,
not there.
yeah, yeah. But even healthy people do that same kind of thing, but in a different way, not quite
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it comes back to really we can only interpret, which is flavored by our conditioning and our DNA and all,
Mm.
everything, our experience mainly. And that interpretation is what our brain has decided the thing is. And then we relate to that as if it were the actual thing, when in
Yes.
fact we've got no idea what the actual thing was. And especially if it comes to other people, we've got no idea who they
Mm.
are, you know. But
Yeah.
we can imagine we know people even before they speak, or even as they say the first few words, we go, "Oh, I don't like that person," or "Oh, I do like that person," you know. And it's
So what?
based on intuition, isn't it?
How do you? I mean, we can't do anything about it as such, but let's just say, it's speaking in those terms. What I guess just noticing that's happening is
Yeah.
all you can kind of do, as it were.
Yeah. So, what would you imagine noticing it would do for you?
I suppose I imagine it would undercut the stories because whatever the sort
Absolutely.
of
So, in a mind affected way, a simplistic notion would be simply that I can't know anything. I can
Mm,
only have my beliefs about things, the way I interpret it. So all of a sudden, I'm not sure about anything. Everybody gets the benefit of the doubt, so to speak.
yes, yeah.
So if we feel like we really know something, well, a technique I used to use a lot, I haven't for a while now for some reason, but a technique would be that I would tell a story and I would append to the end of it or not. You know, this is going
Right.
to happen or not. Maybe, who knows, or not. Yeah, it was
Mm.
just a good reminder that I can't actually know anything. I've only got beliefs to go by. Yeah. But I want to make a big deal of this. It also applies to this, and that is we frequently think we know what's going on in our body, but we mostly don't because we don't pay
Mm.
much attention to it. We don't put much focus
Yeah.
on it, what is actually going on. And when we do, we've got these things called feelings, which are sensations with stories attached to them. And the stories are our creation. And the sensations themselves don't actually have stories involved in them, although they come out of
Mm.
further other stories. They're a deeper layer of stories that produce our sensations. But nevertheless, if we just take our prominent feelings and recognize that they are sensations plus stories, and then the way a technique is to go into what the sensations are, where they are, what they feel like, how they're changing, etc. Just looking at the characteristics of that sensation. And at a level or at a depth that means that you couldn't describe it to anybody accurately.
Mm.
You have to
Mm.
come back to a simplistic level to describe it. At that level, the stories that are attached to the sensations kind of drop off. They become obvious and they lose their power. And so it's not a feeling any longer. It's a sensation, and then there is the meaning we gave it with the stories that we've invented and added to it. And they're the ones that we're
And the,
conditioned. You go,
and the stories include, because I've noticed when I tune into bodily sensations, I've got quite a visual sort of mind, and it's extremely difficult for me to sort of. It's almost like I can hardly hold a sensation without having a mental picture of the part of the body overlaid.
yep,
You know what I mean? It's sort of
yep,
that sort of mental overlay of an imagined structure of the body, like a three-dimensional
yep, yep.
dimensional representation. It seems to be really difficult to shift. That
I don't see
um,
any problem with that. That's a good one. You know what it is. You know what you're doing as a way of getting in
right, yeah,
touch, and I think that's fine. Yeah.
right, okay, yeah. Yeah, because I remember years ago, I mean, when I very first started meditating, that I was on a Vipassana retreat and they were asking you to, you know,
Yeah,
observe the
and
sensations in
Anapatta.
the
Yeah, I
nostril.
know that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were saying, but don't visualize it at all, you know. And I was like, that was like an impossible task for me. It was sort of like the two
Yeah,
just came together, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah. I remember that one. I got quite an intense spot just there. I could feel it. Yeah, but I didn't have the visual thing like you did. Yeah. But we all have dominant senses, and here's a really interesting one, and you may have already experienced this. If you follow a sense in and get um, uh, how can I put it, intensely focused in it, you start to see that in fact it runs into other senses. So you'll
Mm,
find that your sense of smell and your visual sense start to come together. You know, you'll get an
mm,
overlap of different things. So there are many senses that you couldn't say, oh, that's just a feeling, because it not only has a feeling, but it also has an image or it has a flavour to it
mm,
that it runs
mm.
together. Yeah. Yeah, we've science and our conditioning again has isolated the senses into independent things, but they frequently work together. I think
I
there's a
think that
term.
happens in an infant. I think
Yeah,
in an infant that it's they're not separate, although they're just kind of energy, and then they get
yeah,
divided gradually.
yeah, yeah. We learn that that's a smell and that's a taste and so on. Yeah, but of course you can easily see how that it's sometimes really difficult to distinguish between a taste and a smell. You know, they're really
Mm,
close together. Yeah, but yeah. What I'm pointing to now is the recognition of the value of giving the body what we previously gave the mind in terms of
mm,
the value of recognizing what's actually going on. The body doesn't lie, although it can tell the truth that is a lie. That's a bit complicated, I guess, but the body is going to be straight up and down about what it experiences.
mm.
But there is a it is a the body is a portal into a whole lot of this stuff. Definitely not the mind, but the body is.
Yeah.
How did you go with Vipassana after sitting for an hour and your legs start to ache? Oh, I can still remember that, how that was painful. Uh,
Yeah, because I wasn't used to sitting cross-legged or anything like that. It was my first proper retreat, and yeah, of course I was like hardcore. I'm going to push through, and you know, I did the you know, the hour of determined sitting or whatever it is that they call it, that one, and my knee just was in such agony. I felt like I sort of floated off into another dimension because it was so painful. Um, but you know, I sat through it. I don't in retrospect, think that that was a great thing to do.
yeah.
I'm not sure if it was good for my knees. Um, but yeah, I got into, you know, intense meditation. I was just a bit gentler than that after. Yeah. I've never been back to the 10-day.
All right. I mean, this is the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the one, but I found somewhere else that they did 9 days, sort of, you know, with more, you know, 7 or 8 hours of meditation a day, but not the same strict format.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the 10 day. Well, I did quite a few 10 days, and then I did a couple of 20 days. Um, and then on the last 20 day, I was speaking with somebody who'd been doing it way more. He went to every single retreat and had been for years and years. Right? And I said to him, "Where's all the enlightened people?" And his response was, "Maybe next lifetime." That
Mm.
that killed it for me. That was the end of my Vipassana experience. Uh, I wasn't going to wait till next lifetime. I wanted it this lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that, you know, I was sort of practicing in a tradition, and I was sort of heading towards like non-monastic ordination in a Buddhist tradition, and there was that, you know, idea floating around that it was kind of a bit immature to think that enlightenment is achievable in this sort of lifetime.
Mm. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I just don't have any idea whether it is or not. You know, it's not
Mm.
something that concerns me anymore.
Yeah, but that's different from strongly believing that it's not possible, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, how can I know? I couldn't possibly know. Yeah, yeah. But even if it is, I don't know what it is. Of
Mm.
course, we've got all of the old Buddhist and Zen and various scriptures that talk about it. Yeah, but I kind of can't relate to them. I don't know what they on about really, unless it's just a version of this, you know. And this is pretty good, so I'm happy here. Yeah. It's not to say there's not continued movement, but that happens accidentally, seemingly. It's not something I go looking for anymore. So, do you have expectations about what it will be like, if, when, whatever? Do you have a landing spot in mind?
Mhm. I mean, I guess I get what comes to mind is, you know, recently, um, one of the things that stood out when I did this first Theta course, you know, like I say, and it's sort of a lot of the practices or the uh, suggested inquiries I've done over the years, so it's quite familiar territory. But one of the things that just came out of a video was, for some reason, it struck me this the idea of striving and not wanting to be sort of wanting to do something to get to somewhere that will make me okay, or one, you know, or just that sort of idea of like that tension that sort of comes from not liking what's happening, or at least having an idea that something else is better.
Yeah.
And that sort of seemed to ease, I guess. And
Yeah.
I
Great.
think, I suppose that's what I imagined. That's what I imagine it to be like, is for that to be not as strong or something.
So yeah. So what if I said it's not that even though that seems to be an internal process, I suppose we'd call it, that says I want things to be different and I've got to work at it to get things to be different. If that turns up, that's just part of everything. It's just part of this that turns up.
Mm, mm,
What we would like to see happen is a recognition that it's just part of everything. So we're talking about not that itself. That itself is almost irrelevant. Almost, it's just something to focus on. But it's our relationship to that.
mm,
So here's a weird one. This is really weird because I feel really funny talking about it like this. But I would say I can't remember the last time I suffered.
mm,
But see, but even that feels really funny to say because I don't know what suffering is anymore. I can
mm.
I the closest I can get to it is remembering that I used to get really frustrated about stupid things on a daily basis before waking up. That happened, and that frustration would frequently turn into anger, and I'd get angry, and whoever was around would cop it, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can intellectually see that was like a form of suffering, but
Mm,
it's like it's because it was painful, and I didn't want it to be there. And it's the not wanting it to be there that was the largest component of the suffering. Not the
mm.
other stuff itself, but not wanting it to be there. The resistance to it was where the suffering
Yeah,
came in. So
yeah.
but see, when I talk about suffering now, it's very much an intellectual understanding of what suffering is. Because I still get frustrated, I still get angry, not very often these days, but it still happens. And when it happens now, my attitude is, so what? It's no big deal. It
Mm,
happens. It usually doesn't last very long, and it usually doesn't have severe consequences for me or anybody around me anymore. But it's still there. So what I would say to you is that suffering isn't about what turns up. It is, or it's about that component of what turns up, which is you describe as your relationship to it. That
mm.
idea that it shouldn't be there, that idea that I could do something about this, all of those stupid relationship ideas is where the suffering is. Not in what
Mm,
turned up originally. That's what we add
yeah.
to it that creates the suffering. Yeah. So maybe it's just maybe one way of saying what you might be, or put it this way, what I would imagine is a legitimate imagined landing place is where you're not suffering anymore.
Mm,
Now that doesn't mean that the black dog doesn't turn up, but when it turns up, you go, "Oh, okay, this is here. Isn't that interesting? I wonder what's going on." And you're
mm,
open to seeing various aspects of it. Now, one that you know about. Like I've just seen the first rushes of this film. And I'm not happy. I'm not happy, Jan, at all about this. Right? Isn't that interesting? Wow. Did I imagine they could have turned out all right? They're the first cut, for Christ's sake, you know? Isn't it crazy that I took it so seriously, you know? Oh, and the idea that people are going I'm going to humiliate myself. What a joke. What a joke. People are going to, you know, what is this thing called humiliation? It's how I think other people are thinking. Huh? That's crazy too, isn't it? And how other people actually think, I've got no control over. I don't know what their experience is, why they're coming from where they're coming, why it is the way it is for them. I've got no idea about that. It's got nothing to do with me. That's their personal history.
Totally. But I mean, it's interesting that there are one or two people that pop up in my mind who I wouldn't even necessarily have thought I cared about, that I care about what I imagine that they may or may not think.
Yeah, interesting that one, isn't it? Yeah, I suspect that whether you like them or not, you have a kind of respect for their opinion or for their
Mm.
values or something about them. You know that's important. They don't have to be important in your life as such, but your attitude towards them. Now get it, your attitude towards what you imagine is them,
Yes,
right?
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a total fiction of you know who they are, and how could I know? Yeah. But it's often similar figures in a way. Uh, I mean, I could analyze it psychologically.
Mm. And isn't that
And
interesting, that stuff? You know, you can trace it back to an experience in the past, you can trace it back to beliefs you've got and so on. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, none of that makes any actual sense, but it still happens because still underneath is that belief that means something.
mm,
So this cycles us back to where we started, or one of the earlier points about it. It takes what I call integration. It takes a while for the nervous system to catch up with what you know,
yeah,
because the nervous system is habituated. It's had a lifetime of training,
mm,
and it takes a while for it to readjust to what you now know. But isn't it interesting?
it's definitely interesting.
I I would even go so far as to say, you know what? There's nothing that's not interesting.
Mm,
Seems like a big, broad statement, but the details of everything become quite interesting. I keep
yeah,
using that word. Yeah, yeah. Some people will say, "I've spent a lifetime and it's got me nowhere. What a waste of time." Well, it's not true. It's not never a waste of time because everything that's ever happened for you has been necessary for you to be here.
mm. Yeah. I mean,
And
it's funny because that is the sort of like I've had that. I'm very familiar with that. Like one of the stories that uh, when I used to, I don't have it so much now, but I used to have this anxiety when I woke up in the morning, and there'd be a knot in my stomach. And one of the really familiar regular stories was like I've wasted the last 20 years of my life or something. That was a sort of like it was hard. It was like I know that's not true. I know that's not true, but I still feel like that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, 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 yeah. I had an experience. I'd love. I wish I could put it in a pill and give it to you. But one of the experience, I was a seeker for 45 years. Well, for longer than that, but officially, I started looking 45 years. I was obsessed about this waking up thing, or what I used to call enlightenment. And I tried all sorts of things and it didn't work. That didn't work. This didn't work. Whatever. I went through everything, including the Vipassana thing, and a whole lot of others. I could write a list, and there'd be 20 or more things on that list of things that I did to get to this point. And I was sitting there one day and I was thinking, wouldn't it have been good if I woke up while I was still a teenager? How different my life would have been. And then it hit me. I realized, and it was a boing, it hit me like that everything that I went through was absolutely necessary for me to be here. Absolutely
Mm.
everything. So none of it was a waste of time. And you know what? I can look back and I can go, that whole 45 years, looking at it from here backwards at it, it only took 10 minutes. It didn't take that long at all to get through. Of course, 45 years ago, I would be looking into infinity. But looking back, you know, there's some great advantages to being an old bugger. And one of them is that everything that went before happened in a flash. Yeah. How old are you, Dom?
I'm 61.
Oh God, yeah, I would love to be 61 again, maybe. Yeah. But I wasn't awake when I was 61. I was 65 when that happened for me. So yeah, not to say you've got another 4 years before it happens for you, but yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm 80 next year, so
Oh
I'm
wow.
I got a few years on you there, yeah. And a weird, really weird thing is that time has taken on a whole different experience now. It's just, yeah. I live in a, I, this, I'm not meaning to sound arrogant. These things could be taken that way, I guess, but it's a kind of my experience is the best I can describe it is that I live in infinity. I live in a timeless place where,
Mm.
you know, the number of years I've been around is nothing. I rather enjoy saying I'm 80 next year, you know. Yeah, but yeah, this is a statement that a lot of people wouldn't appreciate, but I get it, and that is, if you have 5 minutes of being awake before you die, it'll be worth every second of the whole life up to that point to get there. That 5 minutes will just be amazing. But you've had tastes, I imagine. I get the feeling that you've had tastes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, the closest I could say describe is that something's fallen away a couple of times where and there's just no effort and there's just sort of like peace of some kind of peace or something.
Yeah, you
And it's
can't
like
really describe
it's
it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like something that was to me, it was like something that was in between that, experiencing and something, I don't
Yeah,
know, that bit in between sort of dropped out.
yeah, yeah. That used to be a common description that the veil dropped. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
haven't heard that one for many years now, though. Yeah, but yeah, I get it. I get it. It's interesting because when you say that to me, it takes me into a feeling that I can relate to experiences that I've had. And so
Mm,
it's not, there's no attempt to understand it mentally. There's no attempt to imagine what you're talking about. There is just, you just trigger for me something in me with that.
mm,
And I get that. Yeah. I would use kind of metaphors like it's a, it's, a- it's a wonderful emptiness that's full, a really full emptiness and kind of stupid contradictory kind of explanations like that, but they describe something actual, a wonderful experience. Yeah, but they're not being awake in themselves. They're just experiences, but
mm,
they give you a flavor of what's accessible. That's their value. Don't imagine that that's the way it's going to be for you forever.
mm,
That's just something you have access to. Almost something that sounds funny again, that gets triggered. It's almost like you've got a choice to get it to go there, which is just wrong to say it like that, because it's not a choice, because choices turn up, and if they just turn up, how can they be a choice? But it's the
mm,
best we can do to describe it. Yeah. So the way I would describe it is that magic will appear to you in the
mm,
form of a leaf of grass with a drop of dew on it, an animal enjoying them, lots of things. Like the old traditional sunrise is a great example. You're just blown away with awe at your experience of what's going on. Yeah. It's because there is nothing between you and it. It's a direct experience. The
mm,
mind the
mm.
mind has dropped out of the experience. That's the big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the mind tends to see things in a funny way. The mind wants to categorize things or whatever. Um, yet it doesn't work, but it works at a social level, or it works at a language level, or whatever. But just to say, see, it doesn't make sense to say that we are at any place on a path, that we're at the beginning, the middle, or anywhere in particular on this path towards something, because it's not a linear progression. There are people that'll take one step on it and fall into it straight away, and there are other people that have been working at it for 45 years and still going hard. So it's not a linear progression. It's just that there are certain things, there are certain ways of relating that get in the road of this, and for some people they seem to be bigger blocks, but that doesn't mean that they're harder to get through. They're going to be more dramatic when they fall if they're really big. Um, but yet we've got to talk like people are at the beginning, or people have seen through some things, or people are close, or whatever. None of it really makes sense like that. So people that are suffering a lot, it's easy to imagine that they've got a bigger hurdle to get over. But it doesn't have to be. It isn't necessarily that way at all. Or people can be very close, and yet that final thin line to step over is seemingly unattainable for them. They've been really close forever and ever, and they can't get over that line, which kind of makes it even sound like that there is a point where one says yes, and there kind of is, but it's not an actual point. It's just a point of a change in relationship happens. And then there are people that get over that line, and the next thing you know, they're back over the other side. They've it's like they lost it, but they haven't really lost it at all. They've just got a whole lot of other stuff come up that hasn't been seen before. But so it's like, yeah, we can wake up and go back to sleep. Is a silly way, but a way of describing what could happen possibly. So there's nothing inevitable about anything here. But I get the feeling that you're running right close to that line, and that's not much to step over it. So yeah. So I tell a story. I tell a story. I should actually do some. Yeah, maybe I'll write a story about this one. But yeah, I have a story that I used to use when I was guiding at Liberation Unleashed a lot, and I'd have these people that knew it all, that you would say they could answer all the questions, they knew exactly the right attitude and everything like that, but they didn't think they were awake. And the consequence of that was they weren't awake. And yet what was between them and being awake up was one thing only, and that was the belief that they were awake. Had they believed that they were awake, they would be awake. Now, it's not to say, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that all you've got to do is believe you're awake to be awake, but they knew it all. They'd had all of the right experiences and so on and so on. But they couldn't get it into their head. I was going to say into their head. The belief didn't happen that they were actually awake. And so consequently, they saw the world, they saw everything. Their relationship to everything that happened was from a perspective of not being awake. And can you get it intellectually, at least, that had they believed they were awake, their relationship to everything would have been different? So the person that's not awake has let's say a certain experience that they wish wasn't there, and they add to it immensely by judging it and judging themselves for it not being there, and so on and so on. They just
Mm.
make a big deal of it, you know. And the person that
You
is
made a,
awake, you going?
sorry, yeah, you made an analogy, or I heard an analogy about those magic images where they're dots, and then
Yes, yes.
if you look at them, if you kind of soften your gaze, you see an elephant or whatever. Um, and I went through a phase where I was like, I can't, that doesn't work for me. Those dots, I've never seen the sort of the elephant, whatever it is. And I had this thing where I'm like, I'm just that person who can't see through it. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's just me. I'm just not a, able to, and that doesn't seem to be happening so much now.
Mhm.
That sort of frustration and that sort of idea that it's just not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
possible, for me or something, you know.
So have you seen the elephant or whatever's in the picture?
I've never seen them on the dots, but I mean, I haven't looked at a dots thing for a long time. But
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
remember it being frustrated at the time where people were like, "Oh, look, whatever it was," and I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
"Well, whatever the
Can't do it.
reason
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
I
yeah,
just wasn't seeing it."
yeah. And it's not a case of knowing what to do, because people can't. People will say, "Oh, soften your vision or put it slightly out of focus or whatever." No, none of that actually does it. But playing around with those things, it'll most likely happen.
Mm.
So you may get to the point where you said that's not for me, and so you don't even try anymore. But
Yes,
if you,
definitely with those things. Yeah.
yeah, and it may well be that you're right. It may well be that it's a physical thing that's stopping you, but I don't think so. You just haven't. But I'll tell you what. Once you do see an image, you go back and you can look at that same dots, and that image will appear in about 5 seconds. It'll come back easy, you know, and the next time you look at it. Now, I look at them now, and I find that I can look at them and find what's in it usually, but there are some that I can't. I don't even bother to persist anymore. You know, I can't, so I just move on. But
Mm.
most of them I can, and you know what? Most of them are not that interesting. It's just a case of knowing that I can do it that comes up,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's funny that that analogy came up because I remember there was a phase of me trying to sort of, yeah, me getting just frustrated with not getting something. And it was like, it reminded me of not getting those images. And it was the
Hmm.
same sort of feeling of like, oh, I'm just a person who can't, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that might be the case, or it might be just a case where that's how you make yourself feel better about it.
Mm.
Who knows? I don't know. Yeah. So, see, using this, and what I was talking about was people who see themselves as not awake will see the world, and that will affect the way they experience things. Right? Whereas the person that is awake, having those same things come up, will go, "Isn't that interesting? Here's this thing that's turned up. What's it telling me? I'm curious." You see, so it's a different relationship that happens. But that might sound trivial, but of course, what's not been triggered is that there's something wrong with me.
Mm.
It just is the way it is. And if you know, I'll imagine I'll never be able to high jump over an 18-foot pole. You know, I'll never be able to do a whole lot of things that this body's never been trained to do, what others can do. You know, I love golf, but I'll never be a scratch player, I imagine. Maybe I could, but I don't imagine I am. But you see, that relationship thing is, it doesn't matter. I really enjoy golf. Even had a shit
Mm.
game yesterday, really bad game. Totally enjoyed it. It was great. Yeah. Panilla's got a saying, and I don't know whether it's turned up in one of those videos you watched or not, that says post-it notes on reality. It's just a brilliant concept. I just love it. And all these stories we tell about ourselves are post-it notes on reality. They just, and it's amazing you can imagine using that analogy. Some people live in a world that's just post-it notes. They have no idea what reality is. All they know is about the notes they've stuck on top of it. Yeah. I kind of enjoy those ones that turn up too that say, spot the differences between these two pictures. Right? And there's three differences. And if there's three differences, I can usually find two of them fairly quickly. But that third one, nah, I give it a couple of minutes and then give up. I don't even bother. It's not important. And if I did find it, does it change my life? Not a bit, you know. So it's like, why would I bother to keep going? You know, it's just like that. I enjoy puzzles, but getting them out's almost irrelevant. It's the attempt
Mm.
at trying to work them out that's enjoyable. So I don't know if you know golf, but for example, I putting is an interesting one. When you're putting on the green, you know, like if my ball goes where I tell it to go, I take it as that was a good putt, even if it didn't go in the hole. You know, if I've allowed it for it to move over because of the slope of the green and it doesn't move over, I can still feel like it was a good putt because it went where I told it to go. Or if it doesn't go where I told it to tell it to go, then it's not a good putt. But that's okay because that's interesting. That's a reason why that was the case. You know, did I have the angle of my putter head wrong, or was I facing the? Who knows what it could be? But it's interesting. It's not no reflection on me
Mm.
personally. You could say it's a reflection on how well I play the game, but that's irrelevant. I'm only there to have fun, not to, you know. I say jokingly, I say, well, I've already lost all my sheep stations. I've got nothing else to lose, so it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the difference between playing like that and playing on the first tee when people are watching and feeling very self-conscious.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel self-conscious because I can watch all of them and there'll be somebody for sure that'll be just as shit as I am. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's out of my hands whether it comes off well or not. If it's a good gun or not, it's got nothing to do with me really. It's kind
Mhm.
of luck. And if it's a good one is luck, it's just good luck. And if a bad one is luck, it's just bad luck. It's just the way it is. I, I, this is an interesting one. I always try my best, and I imagine everybody always tries their best. And I don't know of anybody who tries their worst. That's a really weird thing to think about, isn't it? You imagine somebody trying their worst. Mm. How's life been for you, Tammy?
Hey Vince.
Oh, a bit better then.
Yeah, I guess if I would report, I would say that yeah, I'm not quite sure maybe how to look at it. It was very helpful the previous meeting, and then um I had a day where I had to go and get a checkup and stuff, and I was going to work before, and a lot of the stuff that you guys were talking about, realizing when thoughts were coming up. I just totally used that all day. It was just like living in me. I was like on a mission. It's like, nope, bam, thought, dropping it, dropping it, dropping it. It was like I had to get through the day. I was like in survival mode. I was marching and I was like, nope, thought, not going there. Like it was just, um, and I didn't feel much. I just kept dropping thoughts and staying like with the matter at hand. There was logistics, there was anxiety, there was all kinds of stuff. I just kept on staying with it. And at the end of the day, I felt kind of, I could have said, oh, I'm proud of myself or I'm happy. There was none of that. There was no emotions most of the day, not a lot. There was some irritation when there was crowding. There was like some fear, some this or that, but just very minor, and I just was dropping it. There was some tension in the body I noticed, but I didn't, give it too much attention, and it wasn't bad. And the thoughts came like, oh, is this, better or worse than I would have been way more anxious at other times. Like, so there was kind of like, maybe this is good or better. I'm not freaking out. And then at the end of the day, I got home and I had done it all. And then I had more stuff to do. It was just a ton of stuff. And then at the day, I just kind of collapsed a bit. And I was like, on the one hand, happy I was able to do that, or that to have had that experience of like doing this all myself, not telling anyone, um, not collapsing, not getting hysterical, just going and getting it. And like, it was scary for me, the whole thing, to go to the hospital myself, to go to the doctor myself, to choose the doctor, to everything, to go through the diagnose, whatever, to speak to him, get the examination and everything, and ask all my questions. But to get through it without collapsing, and I felt in a more mature adult manner. So I was like, yay, that was good. But I didn't really celebrate it so much at the end. I just felt kind of drained and alone, because it's like, okay, if I don't relate to people from like hysterical neediness or dependency, then here I am just at the end of the day, alone at home. No one knows what I've been through in life. And yay, I marched through halls of hospitals with less hysteria. So it was a bit, I don't know. And then I saw something online about, are you, um, do you ever, I don't know, something like, I was a bit proud of it or happy with that day. And then I was like, came in like the opposite message of like,
Yeah,
are
yeah.
you using spirituality to like, is it like a subtle form of control? Are you really just, not feeling anything and numbing to life, or like not open to all experience and all emotions and all people? And I was like, oh, I've gone too far in one way. Like, I don't know. I think it was kind of coming to put me back in the center again, but it was like, no matter what I do, I'll knock myself for not doing the opposite. So here I was more contained. I had some more, I didn't give in to hysteria or collapse. I didn't call anyone a needy, heaping, crying mess. But then I was down on myself for not being like more open and whatever. I don't know. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I still haven't spoken to anyone really about it. And I'm still kind of trying to process what to do, and just feeling scared, and nothing's clear. There's no like
Mm.
great option. And I don't know if I'm in denial about it or just not wanting to do anything. And in the meantime, there's inflammation in the body, and I don't know if to let it go or if to try medicines that may or may not work. And the options are like a lighter medicine that might help the stomach inflammation, but won't touch the body inflammation. But it also won't give me many symptoms or suppress my immune, or go with stronger stuff that would suppress my whole immune of my body. But then, you could get stuff like multiple sclerosis or cancer or,
Mm.
really bad infections, or just keep getting sick from people. Like, and that might not work either. These things could work for a while and then stop working. You could develop antibodies to them. Anyway, it's just feels like there's no good options. And I'm like, I could still try to go like the natural way and just keep trying to tweak my life experience and meditate and no second arrow and eat differently or sleep differently, all the stuff that I've been trying to do for years, just try to get me over the hump. So it's just very confusing because there's no good option. Like, it's not like, oh, do the medicine and you'll for sure get better for all time. It's like, well, in a year you might, you know, be feeling better,
Mm.
or there might be, but you still might have inflammation. So I don't know, it's very hard for me to accept any of it, and I'm not sure I want to accept it or try and change it. So I
Yep.
think that's where I kind of am.
Mm. Yeah, you're kind of caught in the middle, eh? Yeah. So you were going to the doctor. What was your experience at the doctor? Did that help you to come to any conclusions, or did it leave you just as tossed about what to do?
So those are the things that he told me. He did confirm that there is inflammation. It's not just in the blood work. He did some imaging on the spot, which is why I chose this guy, because he could do some non-invasive imaging, although he did that I should do invasive imaging, and that I should start treatment. Um, and he did say that it was contained to one area, so that was good news, because I had not known that before, because the invasive imaging doesn't reach the rest of the stomach. So
Mm.
that was good to know. But he did confirm that there is active stuff there smoldering. So it's not just, I've been feeling it since June, but I always say, oh, you're imagining stuff, you're lazy, you're sensitive, you're this, you're that. And he confirmed it. So
Yeah, yeah. So all of those other stories can go out the window now, eh?
they don't really. I still have magical thinking, Vince. I'm still like, well, my whole life everyone said, oh, you're fine, just calm down. So maybe that's still true. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe if I just calm down more, maybe if I eat differently or move to Switzerland. So, or find a
Mm.
loving relationship, or you know what I mean? Or stop eating honey. Like, I don't know. But can I just wait this out kind of thing? But I've been saying that since June, and
Yeah. Well, it hasn't worked, has it? Or
every day I'm
maybe
like,
it
maybe,
has.
maybe.
Yeah.
No. Oh,
Has
yeah.
it been consistent, or has it come and gone? Has it been?
It waxes and wanes. There's all kinds of
Yeah.
symptoms that come and go. So I keep on getting my hopes up, and then not, and then worse, and then better. But even if the symptoms come and go, I think there's inflammation going on, which is not nothing to leave that going on for years. So
Mm.
it's just like a gamble. Like, what's worse, to inject chemicals into your veins that may or may not help and suppress your immune system? And then you might have to escalate to the ones that could cause harm. And then is that better, or to leave some inflammation? I don't know. So it's so confusing.
Mm.
And I don't want to accept that I have this going on. And I'm still trying to like make it not be so. And so there's all of that going on. Um, and and that kind of set me off. The stress of it, even though I handled it stoically at the time, the stress of it, I think, set me off. So I'm like not sleeping as well, so then the pain returns. And then anyway, whatever, all of this is like boring, and yet it's my life and I don't know what to do. So
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Do you think could there be any value for you in that not knowing what to do? I know I get that that sounds like a crazy question. What comes to mind?
For me, it's just like the magical thinking again. When you say that, I'm like, oh, maybe he's going to save me. And like, there really is no illness. And I can fly off in something. Like, I don't know, maybe I can magically make
Yeah.
it disappear by meditating or going to Switzerland. Those are my two like hopes. But
Mm. If you were to, let's imagine that you were to grab a piece of paper, draw a line down the center of it, and on the one side put the pros and the other side put the cons, or in this case, on one side put what you've tried and the results, and on the other side what you haven't yet tried and the imagined results of those. Would there be anything on that side, or would they be all on the other side where you've already tried and they haven't worked? Or they have worked, if we get into some details, they have worked a little bit, or they have worked for a short time, or they haven't worked at all. Would you agree that most of your stuff would be on that side of the page?
of not working,
Yeah, stuff you've already tried that didn't end up completely fixing it.
well, for 2 years, I was more okay. But again, as my father pointed out, but you can't eat anything except for your four things without getting into extreme distress for months. So it's not like you're all fine. So, in other words, I was never totally fine, but it stopped a lot of the symptoms. All the extreme things that I'm doing made it livable,
Right.
that I could stoically get through the day. So it did something, and some of my testing was good for 2 years. So that
No,
was
that,
not nothing.
yeah, right. That
Yeah.
was because of your diet, eh?
Yeah.
So is it a celiac issue, or what did you
Crohn
do?
colitis issue.
Right. So what was it that you were able to eat?
Um, it changes um over time, which is supposedly part of what happens with this. Some things seem to work for a while and then they stop working and then you switch. So um, it's been a bit different over the years, but there's certain principles that have remained the same. But the doctor said this, the other doctor told me to do it 7 years ago, but this doctor says, no, this is not part of what we do for care. But the other guy said, do it and try to avoid the medication. So that's what I've been doing for 7 years. But
Right. 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 So you referred to the medication as immune suppression,
yeah.
did did you? Yeah.
Mm.
So is the problem you've got an overactive immune system, or let's put it another way, what I imagine is the case, and that is that the immune system is so aggressive that it's actually attacking itself.
They used to call this autoimmune. In other words, the medical model theory was that the body's attacking itself. I don't think they say that anymore. They Some people say it could be stuff like attacking hidden bacteria or stuff. I don't know. There's different models, but I think they just say that there's inflammation in the gut, and there with some people there's also inflammation in the body. I don't think they know why. And and it comes and goes. Stress and sleep can add to it. Air quality can add to it, which is why I was waiting for winter and rain, because I notice a difference in my body when the air is clear or not, which is hence my dreams of Alpine Switzerland. But yeah, and that's why I keep thinking, even though medicine is no answer for this, I'm like, no, no, no. I'm going to discover how to, and I've known people that had it and then no longer seem to have it again. Will it come back later in life? I don't know for them, but so it's just very
Yeah.
confusing of what's magical thinking versus no, that could be reality. Maybe just hold out a bit longer and this will go away by itself. But or it could get worse and then it's like, why didn't you take care of it sooner? So you just don't know, do you? You know what I mean? And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, like I can call it big names that put myself down, like, oh, magical thinking and stuff, but it's not really. It's really an actual calculated risk. In other words, I don't know at this point, could it go away by itself or not? At this point, it's been such a long flare that I don't know if it could go away without help. I could take a short bout of steroids, which I used to do before, but that's been increasingly hard on the body and not great. And so
Mm.
that's one option. And then it's like, could it go away by itself? At this point, I don't know. It's been a long one. But on the other hand, taking stuff is not benign either, and it may not even help. So I don't know.
Mm.
Anyway, sorry, Vince. I'm sorry to be bringing up this stuff, but
Yeah, no, no, don't be sorry.
uh,
There's no reason for you to be sorry that I know of. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a difficult situation you're in, isn't it? We could be very clear about one thing, I think, and you actually mentioned it, but I don't know that you put enough emphasis in it on it, and that is that stress, worry, that kind of stuff, concern, very likely adds to the situation that you don't want to be there. Would you agree with that?
I don't know because I haven't tried the other way. But and also because steroids have really helped, and steroids are actually synthetic cortisol, and cortisol, and those helped me tremendously. So maybe I should get hysterical, and cortisol will help. So I don't know. My mind works in mysterious ways, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing with
um,
steroids is, like, yeah, I mean, because I've had experiences with them, and I had really bad arthritis in one hand at one stage, and eventually I got a steroid injection into that hand, and
mm,
it was amazing the effect of that,
yeah,
and it lasted for about 3 months, and
nice.
then when I went back and said, "Give me another one," because the pain's back, they wouldn't do it. They said, "No,
Yeah,
you can't keep doing this. It has adverse effects if you try and keep doing it." And so
exactly.
that was an interesting one, wasn't it? So,
Yeah,
and in a sense, it's obvious that if it gives you some relief, not for the sake of relief, but rather to allow your body to heal, then that's a good thing. But if it's just a temporary relief and it's going to wear off and you're right back to where you started, or even worse off than where you started, then it's probably not a smart way to go, eh?
yeah, and I've done it several times already, and now the side effects start much sooner and stuff, and so it's already
Yeah,
a
yeah,
problem. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's probably not. No, it's not that it's giving you your body a chance to heal. It's not that it's giving you relief and allowing other things to work. It's just suppressive in itself, and that wears off. Yeah. So that's not a good way to go. Now, you've used the word magical thinking quite a lot, and I get what you mean by magical thinking, and I would say certainly that also is like your steroid injection. It has a certain effect that's short term, and then you're worse off than what you were before. But on the other hand, I do believe in what I call magic. I definitely can see these things can be spontaneously healed and so on, but you wouldn't bet the bank on it because it might or
yeah,
might not work. It's not something you have control over, is it? That kind of
yeah,
thing, well, it has a life of its own. So whether or not, so certainly I would say things like meditation of the right kind, not just meditation. That's a stupid word because there's a million different variations of it and doing it right. So I would say specific guided meditations could be good value for you if you did them, but you've probably already had experience with them and they can work, and then they lose their potency, don't they? So
Mm.
you've got to keep changing it in order to keep things up. And again, is it having the effect in itself that as soon as you stop doing it, you're back to where you started from, or is it allowing the body to get ahead of it and keep going? So
Mm.
it's very tricky stuff, all of this. So, I certainly wouldn't put down magical thinking. It has a place and it's valuable, but you've got to be realistic in your. It's a bit of an oxymoron there, isn't it? You've got to be realistic in your magical thinking,
Mm.
which is not kind of not magical, is it? But anyway, yeah. So it has a place and it has a value as well, for sure. So the medication that the doctors were offering you was just steroids? Is that same
No,
route
he
you've been
says
down
not to
before?
touch it. No, he says not to touch steroids and to go with these biologics. And some are the easiest kind is just affecting the stomach and not the body pain, the body inflammation. But it has, your least side effects, but it also less chance of maybe working. I don't know. And then harsher stuff can really put you at risk of harsh stuff. And I can just imagine going to the hospital, getting, chemicals injected in my veins and just crying that how could I do this to my body? Like that.
Hmm. Well, what you've got, the Crohn's or whatever, that's doing stuff to your body as well, isn't it? And there's no getting around that one. That's having a devastating effect on your body, right?
Yeah, but I guess I feel that that's my fault. And if I could just figure out how to fix it, I could be healthy because that's just my idea in my head that we're all healthy if we have healthy minds, healthy bodies, healthy habits. I just keep waiting to like get healthy. You know what I mean? I just still have this idea that I
Hmm.
could do it. And I just don't know if to give that up?
Yeah, 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 that's a good one, right? So what that brings to mind here is, Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta, Adyashanti. They're just ones I know of that were certainly had minds that were above and beyond the usual, and they all got sick, didn't they?
Maybe they didn't try hard enough or care enough or they weren't a
Ah,
woman or I don't know, something,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
they were beyond the body. I don't know. Yeah,
Mm,
I guess so. I don't know. I didn't look into
mm,
their body stuff a lot, but
yeah. And the idea that if you found a loving relationship, that would heal you, yeah, that's pretty far fetched, that one, isn't it?
well, it's more about allowing my nervous system to calm down, to trust the universe, to trust people. It's more it's not like, oh, that person. It's more of a complex,
Yeah,
thing, me
yeah.
allowing myself to trust and
Well,
um
I agree with all of that, but I just can't imagine that's going to happen because of another person. That's
I don't
only.
know, like last night I went to the babies, like to my nephews who live next door, and we were just all snuggled on the couch and we were watching some um really uplifting songs and whatever, and they were all just snuggling on me and falling asleep, and it's just very calming to the nervous system.
Mm,
Like so
mm.
being around certain things can create a shift.
Yeah, yeah,
You
like,
know,
yeah. Well, our dog does that for us. It's just amazing. Yeah.
yeah, if I wasn't afraid of dogs, then maybe, but
Mm. Oh, you got to get the right kind of dog. Yeah. But
mm,
anyway, yeah. Or a cat. Cats are not quite so cuddly as dogs are.
maybe a
They
Saint
could be.
I saw a Saint Bernard once. I went right over and got on the floor and hugged it. And my friend was like,
Yeah.
hello, hello. So maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
there could be. But no, I prefer people, I think, for regulation.
Mm.
Yeah.
So can you see that stress and worry and a heightened nervous system is just as bad for you as the side effects of any chemical you might put into your body? Because indeed, what they're doing is putting chemicals into your body. They're just the wrong hormones. They're just called
Yeah.
hormones, not chemicals, but they're having the same effect, putting your nerves
Yeah.
on edge. Yeah.
You're right. And I think that's why it was so important to me, like after the previous meeting, when I was able to put that into practice and not have a crazy hysterical meltdown day, I was able to, just go through
Mm.
my day with the doctor, with everything, and just be a sane, normal person. It was so refreshing to me to not be
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
neat, dependent, clinging mess. It was like, wow, I got through the day, took all the buses, the trains. I even taught before. I had a meeting after. I saw the doctor. I asked the questions. I was sane and rational. It was like awesome,
great,
in a
great.
way.
Yeah, yeah. That's really excellent stuff. But there are side effects to that as well. And one of the side effects is that you're going to experience some grief about the loss of the familiar, the way you used to be all the time. That not being there is going to have a kind of a weird side effect on you, and that's going to leave you feeling a little bit less secure. It's going to leave you feeling uh, a bit puzzled. Can you get that as well?
I did feel grief at the end of the day. And I think it's also a lack of connection because my hysterical neediness has me reaching out to people. Even though by now I know it's not really going to help, there's still that hope there and there's still that connection. And I'm still alone with it. I haven't discussed it with anyone or been like, oh my gosh, what should I do? Or oh my gosh, I haven't called, you know, family or friends in hysteria and asked them anything. I'm just alone with it. And that's like, I'm half happy with that because I'm like standing
Yeah,
on my own, and half it's a tremendous like loss. I don't know,
yeah. I
of
know. Do you
connection
get do
or
you get that?
something.
What needs to happen there is something that you're not familiar with, and that is you need you there's a different way of making connection with people that, other than through your neediness, other than through your hysterical reaching out in desperation kind of thing. That there's another way, but you don't know that other way because it's never been part of your life. Do you
I
get
mean, I
that?
know some other ways because I've, always been a big sister or caretaker, or mother to many people, both older and younger than me. So I have that way of reaching out, of being very empathic and caring and putting myself
Yeah.
aside. And that's one way. And there's other
So
ways, but
I
yeah,
hear two ways. I hear one way that you do that, you're a carer, and then the
yeah,
other way I heard is that you need care.
yeah, yeah.
What are there any other ways that don't involve those two things that you can think of? Like just being a friend?
Um, I'm not sure that I fully know what that means because my life has always been a series of what feels like kind of mini crises or emergencies. And so it always feels like either I'm an emergency or someone else is, and it's just putting out fires and being empathic, being present, taking action. It just feels like yeah, it feels very much like you're either taking care of kids, which is not nothing. You have to be aware that they're alive, that they're well. Like it's very, very
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
intensive
you in the
awareness.
carer role, though, isn't it?
Yeah, so I don't, there's always something to be cared for, especially with family. There's either older members who are sick or there's younger members who need caring for. I don't or friends that I would assume were also in trouble and that's why they called. Yeah, of course I've had also funner times where you just do stuff, um but usually there's something quite serious going on, but maybe not always.
Yeah. But those times are not something you're that familiar with, eh? Would that be right?
Um, I really like hiking. Um, and if there's no crisis in the moment, then that could be really fun.
And when you imagine yourself hiking, are you hiking by yourself or with a group or with one other person?
No, with one person, yeah.
Mm.
But often there's deep talks that evolve. I think that's the one thing that I do. In other words, that's what
Yeah,
interests me,
yeah.
like solving life issues, talking about deep things. Like I don't, or getting scared. A goat was looking at me. So I was thinking one little girl with a pale pink goat herd, and the goat was looking at me, and I started thinking about that. So there's some little fears along the way or deeper things. Um,
Mm,
so I don't know that I guess there are moments where I'm a bit high or pleasant or whatever, and then there's just that. But usually there's something deep that needs attending to. We're always growing and evolving and analyzing. I don't know. Just seems like that's what's of interest, even while
mm,
doing other things. But no, I guess you can go to the beach. There's things that can be done that are you don't talk heavily. No, I don't know.
mm. So can you imagine that all of these things that we've been speaking of appear to be centered on originating from you or happening to you? Does that make sense? Would that describe pretty well everything? It's either you
Not really
outward or inward you, inward to you.
versus what's happening to someone else.
Well, if it's happening to someone else, what's your relationship to that?
I guess I'm not really sure the question, Vince. What are you saying?
Yeah. Okay. It's yeah. What I'm getting at is that everything, the way you see life, everything is either happening to you or happening by you, from you. That there is, and what I'm getting at is that there is a possibility that you may not have experienced at all, where things just happen, and you are you are not you. Well, or you are just as involved as anybody and anything and anything other than Tammy. Right? So it's just a happening, and you are no more important than the tree or the rock that's involved in that happening just by being present. You're no more involved than they are or less involved than they are. It's not exclusively to you or from you. That your experience is just experience. So I've lost it already. It's not how do we how do we get you to imagine something that you haven't yet imagined, but unless you have. So I suppose I'm asking you, can you imagine that everything that happens to Tammy whether it originates to Tammy or comes in and bounces off Tammy, is just a happening. Can you imagine that as a possible way of describing experience?
I don't know. That brought a bit of tears up. I think maybe because I thought you were describing like dissociation, like to say, well, this Crohn's is happening to no one, and there's like inflammation happening, and just um like shut up and get on with it. Like just take medicine, like don't take it personally, kind of. Um versus I don't know, I think it feels like two different experiences. One is going into the mind and saying it's not me or not happening to me, and one is going into the body and feeling it and being okay with it. It feels like two different things. One is like shutting off and going to the head and saying, oh, this is not you or happening to you, it's just happening generically, let's relate to it as if it's a different person. And one is actually going into the sensations and opening up and relaxing into that. I don't know, it feels like two different things. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, they're not two different things in and of themselves, but they are two different things in that there's two different relationships involved.
Mm.
So the one where you're going into the body and it's still a case of not leading from a self. Right? You're looking generically. You're looking at experience objectively, and that objective experience is a much more accurate way of describing, if we want to describe it. It's a much more accurate way of relating to reality. So we're definitely not talking about the one where you go into your head and that is dissociation. But that's not helpful. Because it's still imposed if you do it that way. Whereas what I'm talking about, the one where you go into your body and you do it that way, it's really a case of describing what is actually happening. It's not imposed. It's just described. But the big part about it is, the whole big part about it is that Tammy disappears, and in place of Tammy, a person, is this experience, this experiencing. Whatever is being experienced is everything. It's the experience that is everything, and not the person who it's happening to, or by, or from. So we're not denying a person. This is a tricky area, this stuff. We don't want to deny the existence of Tammy. We want to recognize that Tammy's existence is as an experience. It is experiencing. That's your whole existence. And what you describe as your experiencing is not the experiencing. That's just your description of it. That kind of took a big step away from there, to not meaning to do that. When you had the experience of going through the day and not getting lost in story because you were rejecting the invitation that the stories were offering you to get lost in, that was a case of you relating to actual experiencing. And what you were rejecting was the invitation into what could happen or what might happen, the story component of the whole thing. And what you were left with was what was actually happening. And that is a really interesting, really, really positive experience. Now
I
we have to
think for
put
that.
up.
Go on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say we have to put up with the side effects of that, which was that bit of grief at the end of the day. But that's stuff that will pass. That is just because of unfamiliarity. So what were you going to say?
Yeah, and I also think that like I didn't realize, but I was doing it also now. Like I woke up in a lot of pain, and I think I was bracing against it and just feeling also very embarrassed about talking about this and wasting your time. Like, I don't know, I've been like holding myself very tight and not wanting to feel the pain and stuff. And I think that was part of that day. It wasn't just getting rid of thoughts. It wasn't just like, no, no, not going there. It was also holding myself to be able to get through the day.
Hmm.
And so I think, and then I was down on myself, but maybe learning something new, it won't be
Yes.
perfect at first. Like I won't be fully open. Like I'll have to a bit shut off as I
Yeah.
learn how to not go into thought. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm so emotional today, but
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it's not perfect at first. It's also like maybe I was just being stoic rather than being whatever. Like I think it was both. I think I was holding myself
Yeah.
tight and being stoic and being in control to not become a mess, and maybe that's okay. Maybe that's what I
Hmm.
needed to do to get through the day, but also I wasn't going into thoughts as much, and that was a cool experience. So maybe it was both.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
right
nothing
now I'm
a
really
a
happy
long
with it.
way from perfect, but still really good. Right. So what the what's really big for me is that you were experimenting. You were going into new territory. You were trying things out, and they will settle. They will, you'll get better at it, of course. And so, nobody's going to say that was perfect. Let's go with that. It's just the way it is on the way to that. So, can you say, isn't it interesting? That's what I want you to say.
Isn't what interesting that there was some experimenting and
Yeah,
uh
the whole experience was
yeah,
interesting.
it was. And there's I think just the aftermath of like collapsing around that, because I feel like maybe it wasn't really me progressing. Maybe it was just me holding myself really tight and being in control and like white knuckling it for a day, like on a tightrope, and now I've collapsed again. But
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't,
yeah. No, that's another story you can just flick away.
yeah.
Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. It's irrelevant whether it's true or not. But just flick it away because it's not productive.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and like am I going into denial or am I controlling thought? Whatever it is, I'm
Yeah, no,
trying
that's
to not go
that's
into
just the
thought. So
yeah, that's just the old stuff. That's the old thoughts trying to worm their way back in.
yeah. And I guess also now that I'm bracing against the pain rather than being open, I guess I just don't know how to be open, but not be a puddle mess, like a
Yeah, yeah,
crying open mess. So I'm,
yeah, yeah. That's okay. Yeah, well, I detected a few tears a moment ago. That's fine. And of course we've got to work it out. That's the whole deal is to work it out, isn't it? And we're going to try things and we're going to fail with some and succeed with others, and we'll just keep whatever
hmm
turns up. Yeah. The fact that you were able to do it is huge. Doesn't matter what you were able to do, but the fact that you were able to do that was huge. Right? That really opened things up for you. That was you dismissing the old way and inviting in a new way. Now you need to polish it. That's all.
Mm. Well, I like those thoughts better than mine. So,
Uh,
yeah, no, experimenting and needing to polish. Yeah, I'm very unforgiving. I think I should get things perfect the first time, but
mm. Well, you're a hard taskmaster.
oh,
Yeah.
yes.
If you had friends that treated you the way you treat yourself, you wouldn't be friends for very long, would you?
Mm. Yeah, I don't treat my students this way. I don't know what's up with me, but
Mm. Yeah, no, it's all an experiment. That's the best way I can look at it. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just hard to find that balance between wanting to be a person who is independent and not clingy and needy and not a mess and can go through life like a grown up, not like a kid who's still hoping that like someone will save her if she cries or hard enough or it'll just won't be the case or, reality will magically shift. And on the other hand, all spirituality nowadays is kind of shifted towards that. Just, be at the right vibration and you'll suddenly have a multi-million dollar mansion in Malibu. Like everything is like law of attraction and all of this stuff. And you're like, okay. So, there's so much magical thinking in the zeitgeist now of the world and new age stuff and even how you look at illness. Oh, it's just anger. If you get rid of that, there's no such thing as cancer. It's all just repressed emotion. There's so much stuff out there. It's very confusing.
Mm.
Um, as well as just finding my way between being an adult and being independent and accepting reality and what does that mean and then what's my relationship to other people. It's still very confusing, this growing up stuff.
Yeah, that's right, Liz. Yeah.
And then there's the pain and then there's decisions that none of them seem clear. So I don't know, Vince,
Mm.
what do you say? What do I do now? What's my next practice?
I feel very strongly that what you experienced just needs more and polishing as you do it and get more relaxed at doing it. That allows room for you to see finer details and so on, and be very wary of those big negative stories that turn up saying, "Oh, am I just um, am I just bypassing? Am I just in denial?" All those stories, just tell them to go away. You don't need them. And
Mm.
what you want to do is learn how what you were doing had benefit and find finer details about what actually happened. As you get more relaxed with it, you'll see more and more details. So I might say definitely keep practicing that one. That's a fantastic, great start to a significant movement when you can free yourself from getting lost in those stories that constantly turn up.
Yeah, and I guess it's just like part of the fine tuning is like if I don't want to be an open puddle mess with my heart outside my body, like just completely open and needy and wearing my heart on my sleeve and whatever, and like a mess, and I want to be more contained and like an independent person, it's also like how much do I allow my body experience or in other words, my relationship to thoughts, my relationship to the pain, my relationship to the body
Yeah,
sensations, my
yeah,
relationship to other people, how open am I to those things versus having some boundaries or self-respect or some limits like no, I'm not going there, just like I say to thoughts, nope, not today, thank you very much. it's a matter of how open I am. Like I've always prided myself on being very, very
Yeah,
open, intellectually honest and open to others. And like I'll completely, if you have a problem, it becomes more mine than your, like I'll open my heart
yeah,
to it and I'll
yeah,
completely make it mine, like enmeshment. And it's like finding a new way of like not being disconnected from my body or my experience or from other people, and yet not falling into it. So I don't know. It's like it feels very, because I can feel very detached from people if I'm not
yeah,
fully open.
yeah.
That feels like I'm detached when I'm this person who now takes care of herself and has her own limits and boundaries. And I go to the doctor and I don't necessarily tell you, and I don't need to be there for you and jump whenever you say. I don't know, becoming like an adult person who's not enmeshed with others is very, there's a grief about it. There's like,
Mm,
because I was this kid who was just running around with an open heart, and whoever needed me, I
yep,
was there fully. And
yep,
it just hasn't been working so well. So now I need to become one of those people who's a bit more contained. And it feels like a loss of that huge, like, love and connection. But anyway.
yeah. That's what you've got to learn about. That's your new experience. Now, I would say if you were in my life on a daily basis, I'd want you to be that absolutely open puddle on the floor. I reckon that's more authentic, and I would relate to that better. But I wouldn't if you were just using it as a ploy. If you were being genuine with it, I would feel good about it. But I get that's me. So other people don't want you to be like that because you trigger stuff in them. So there's a middle way, and you'll learn to be that middle way. So I don't want you to suppress that big-hearted openness that you've got at this fully. I mean, I want you to be able to recognize that and know when it's appropriate to let it out, to let it happen.
Mm, I like that. Okay, that makes sense to me. In other words, to not be disconnected fully, but to see where it's appropriate and where I'm just giving it to people that don't want it or need. In other words, to protect myself, and where it's appropriate, I can let it out in certain
Yeah,
measures.
yeah. Yeah, in a way, you can imagine that what we're talking about is boundaries, but soft
Yeah.
boundaries. Yeah, just knowing when it's appropriate. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Appropriate, adaptable. I like that word too. Mm.
Yeah, it just feels still sad and disconnected to have that. But
Yeah,
it's
well,
more
you've got to
adult for
learn.
sure,
Yeah,
but
it's
I
fine
don't know.
tuning. Yeah, and there's a lot of that to happen. Yeah.
It just feels sad, Vince, though.
Mm.
It's like everyone's like, "Oh, thank you," and just being polite rather than just like fully open-hearted. It's hard on me.
Yeah, of course, people that aren't used to that fully openness. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's pretty threatening for some people. So that they don't want it for sure.
yeah. I guess maybe that's why it's easier for me with kids. It's like I could just be
Yeah,
so natural and
yeah,
spontaneous, and you could just say, "Oh, I love you, sweetheart," and it's just like on to the next thing. Now we're building a sandcastle.
mm. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Kids are great in that way. Yeah,
yeah, and just be very open and real. It's hard. Being an adult is not fun, Vince. I don't know what to say. It's hard to be so like polite, and you have to be like all boundaried and just open enough and always weighing and
oh
measuring.
God.
And it's really hard.
Well, I'm not going to grow up if that's the case. Mm.
Constant monitoring of appropriateness, and
Yeah,
it's very tiring.
yeah. You don't. That will get really natural for you. Don't worry too much about that. Yeah. Mm. Thank you, Tammy.
Thanks, Vince.
I want to talk to Jack now.
Mm.
Hi, Mr. Vince. How are you?
Good, Jack.
Good.
How's life been for you?
Terrible. But I mean, I'm doing okay now. I'm sorry, that was aggressive. Uh, I've had, I think if you had to look at it objectively, a harder week this week somehow. Um, there have been some nice moments, kind of as always. Uh, I'm coming out of a dance practice tonight that was just pretty mentally brutal. It felt like I was just I don't know. Uh, I don't know. It was bad. I'm doing slightly better now. I I think what sounded kind of interesting to me tonight was I was just gonna ask if you would help me just kind of explore what I'm feeling like, what I'm experiencing now, just in uh, however you might approach that, or if that sounds smart to you, or if you want to say anything else. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
But when you said it was brutal, I found that quite. Uh, I was curious about what was brutal.
Okay.
So presumably, what you're feeling now is the result of that.
No. Okay, maybe I'm tired now and I just don't have it in me to not be emotional. Uh dance
I'm happy for
was
you to be emotional.
yeah, no, that's fine. I'm not gonna not be emotional. Dance was it feels like every single moment is just I'm not gonna say wrong because like it's not like a feeling of wrongness. It's more like a feeling of like getting triggered by every single thing. Like it might be if I'm smiling correctly, or I'll make eye contact with a girl too many times that I don't want to make eye contact with, or I'm doing the dance wrong. I feel I'm not never sure what to do mentally, like moment after moment of moment, and by the end of it, like I'm in pain right now. I'm exhausted. I feel I felt kind of hollow. At some at some point, this is the second day that this has happened. I kind of just realized like I just have to mind my language, but I just have to like shut the fuck up inside my brain and just uh ignore everything almost. Like just
Yeah, yeah,
like literally just stop talking to myself.
yeah. I get that. Yeah. So you're just tell me if I'm right. You're putting demands on yourself. They're not coming from outside you. They're coming from inside you. Would that be right?
I'm open. You know what? Maybe I'm open to. I'm like
Yeah.
resistant to that, but I'm open to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Good. All right. So let's go a bit further. So, like the idea of, am I smiling right? Who's
yeah,
going to tell you that you're smiling right? Is it the teacher, the person at the front, or you yourself?
me.
Yeah. Right. So you're hypersensitive about everything that's going on in you, and not only hypersensitive but hypercritical.
Yeah, but it's it more like it feels like I'm forced to deal with the aftermath. Like I'll be smiling, then I thought like I'm not just like what can I find wrong with this smile? It's like a thought hits me that's just like Really, it's not even a thought. It's more like just like a flash of a feeling of like something is not quite right about this in some way. And then I have
Mm,
to deal with the emotional aftermath of like adjusting the smile or not adjusting the
yep, yep,
smile or figuring out, okay, sorry.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. So is it possible consequences of those things that you then get involved in? Right. So is it the smile that somebody might respond to, like looking at the girl, is she going to respond when you don't want a response or something? Is that the aftermath? Is that the consequences that you're talking about?
uh could you okay, at least how I was explaining it. Let's stay with the smile one because it's easier.
Hmm.
Or maybe I'll smile or I'll catch myself smiling. Something will feel wrong about it. And then it's kind of just like, oh, now I'm left with this shitty feeling that I got to clean up and get back into the flow of things. Or sometimes it's, you know what? Okay, clearly I'm not going to get out of discomfort. Let's just grit through all the dozens of comfortable feelings. Um, uh, I had a thought earlier that I was like, you know what? Maybe I just don't know what's good for me, or not what's good for me, but like I don't know what I need, at least at a mental level, and I should just stop. But I mean, clearly I don't know what that looks like.
Yep, yep. I get that. Yeah.
I'd rather find a solution.
So let's stay with the smile for a bit. Would it be accurate to say that you discover yourself smiling and you don't know why? You don't know where it came from, or you don't know what the intention of it was before you get lost in that it's something wrong about it. Is it like your body's one mind that's not in sync with your mind?
Yeah, I would say that's fair. Like sometimes it feels like me talking to a you, or not you, Vince, but like a you,
Mm.
or me staring at feelings, but clearly separate from the feeling, kind of like observing it. Um, I would say out of sync is a good descriptor, maybe.
Yep, yep. And then comes along the need to clean up, the need to fix it, and that's a bit overwhelming, eh?
The fix the not knowing or the out of syncness.
Yeah, no, the out of syncness or the possible consequences of what happened. I mean, they haven't actually happened, the consequences, but they're just potential, but yet you've got to deal with them, eh?
It feels like I have to find the right foot forward to some imagined future, or like I have to present myself in the present in some way to get through it, get through some feeling.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But you're pretty shitty at that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I don't, there are some good moments, I'm not going to pretend that I think things are going great right now with how I'm responding to my brain. It's just I don't know any other. I don't I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if you could give me a solution, not saying that you have a solution, just if there was a solution, I would take it.
yeah, of
Or I
course,
think
yeah.
I would.
Mm. So that's whatever that solution would turn out to be is the effect of it is to relax and calm.
Yeah.
Would that be right? Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote in my notes the other day, like if I could just never have to touch my mind again, that would be great. Or never have to manage my brain. I don't know if that's over expectation,
Yeah, we
maybe.
could get a lobotomy for you.
Yeah. Not really, but it sounds
No,
nice.
of course not. But it sounds like a relief, eh? Not to have that constant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will note that it doesn't happen as much, at least when I'm talking to you, which is kind of nice. So maybe thank you for that. Or just
Well, that's
note it.
interesting, isn't it? Don't you find that
Yeah.
interesting?
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so yeah, can we explore that? Not, I don't know, but it is interesting.
Mm.
Uh,
So what comes to mind is that your imagined way that I am is different to your imagined way that the people are that were at the dance, for example, the dance practice. So what's the difference between how you imagine I am and how you imagine they are?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, okay.
Normally, normally something would come up. I'm
Yeah.
not.
So let's start with the possibility that it's a feeling. You have a different feeling when you're talking to me than you do when you're there, whether you're talking to them or not, or whether you're with me and with them, there's a different feeling, would you
Yeah.
say?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not a pleasant feeling. Uh, are you getting at something?
I'm just inquiring. I'm not.
Mhm.
I don't have
Yeah, okay.
anything in mind
Sorry.
what I think it might be. Yeah. The value for this is in you discovering it,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah.
One thing that comes to mind is this just doesn't hurt so much. Like it's not like I'm running into the edges of everything.
Hmm.
It doesn't feel sharp.
Yep.
Uh, that's right now. If I'm, yeah, I don't even really want to like put myself in that mind space of like revisiting dance as a memory. Like I don't want to go there.
Mm. It's so unpleasant. Is that why?
Yeah, or at least right now it's unpleasant.
Mm. And I like the analogy that you said that there are sharp edges there that aren't here.
Yeah, I mean that's the actual feeling. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So whereabouts in the body do you feel that?
um,
Well, all right, let's say inside or outside.
well, okay, no, I know where it is. It's like it feels like a what I imagine to be like a nerve running like straight up my legs into the middle of my thigh and then kind of stopping.
Right, right. So that sharpness is a nerve kind of sharpness, eh? Get it? I got it. Yeah.
Uh, sure. I mean, that's yeah, that's
Mm, yeah. Would you say it's hot as well? Does sharpness have a hot, even a searing heat kind of sharpness about it?
um,
Doesn't have to. I just wondered.
I feel some heat, but it's the feeling is definitely changing just a little bit now. Like the heat is maybe in my face even, or
Hmm.
what do you think about me thinking that I'd much rather express that I don't know to you than feel I don't know, or I, I don't know what the feeling is exactly. I don't know
I
about
th
what, but just I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. Your question was, what do I feel? I feel good about that you attempt. See, it's wrong to say you attempt that you are so uh, objectively honest about what's going on for you. That's great. That's really good stuff. So the fact that you can delineate between wanting to express or how you imagine I might respond to your expression of something, or the fact that you don't want to express something. That's excellent. That's good stuff.
Here's a
What's
weird
not?
one. I never know what you're gonna say before you say it. You're like the only person I cannot predict in the slightest. Like right now.
That's perhaps I've got some of the same weirdness in me that you've got. Yeah.
Mm.
No, see I mean, what I imagine is a large part of the discomfort of this for you is the how can I put it? Almost the chaotic nature of it, or the not knowing, the non-clarity of what's going on, because there's so much going on and it's so fast. That's where a lot of the discomfort comes from, I imagine.
Yeah.
And that's because, in a way, and this is my imagination again, but that's because you're awake to that stuff. You're sensitive to that stuff. For most people, it goes on, but they don't even know it's going on. And they don't care. So they're operating at a lower frequency, if you like, because they're only responding to the base, whereas you're responding to everything, especially the high notes.
I don't want to respond to anything. I don't.
Yeah. Well, that's why it feels a bit overwhelming because every bit of it gets you. Yeah. So in a way, like what you're saying is it'd be fantastic if you didn't have to respond to any of it. Well, that's going to the other extreme. But certainly if you didn't respond to some of it, it would you would be more relaxed. It would be a lot easier and better for you to do that. And in fact, that's what will probably end up happening, right? Because a lot of what you're responding to, you don't need to respond to. But you've because of your hypersensitivity to it all, you're feeling a bit overwhelmed by the fact that there's so much to respond to all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people do you think actually analyze the way they're smiling? Most people couldn't care less. They're smiling or they're not smiling. That's it. They're certainly not thinking about how they're smiling. But
Okay.
you are.
So that's a good point. Yeah. So are you pressing on that, or are you saying that I could just let it go? Or
Oh, you, no, I'm saying just be aware of it. You'll let go or not let go, depending. But just by simply being aware of it, it gives you the option. You
yeah.
don't have to do it. You're not going to be the one that does it. It'll happen or not. But you can see easily a very strong part of you wants it to happen, wants you to be able to let go of a whole lot of it, to just not respond to everything. And so consequently,
Um,
that's probably what will happen.
do you see a clean cut anywhere? I know you're not in the business of beating around the bush, but do you see a get off the free or get off the hook button?
I see the possibility of it. That's all. I don't know whether it'll happen or not.
Or what it is? Where the
Yeah. So what's happened is that you're you're so sensitive to everything that's going on that that puts you in an even more sensitive state, and so you're in an upward spiral of getting more and more sensitive and more seeing more and more stuff, and the whole thing is getting too much. What we need to do is kind of slow that down to the point where it can actually settle down, so you can kind of come back down the spiral, back to a lower frequency.
never heard that one before. Lower
Well,
your vibration.
yeah, it's a metaphor, that's all. Yeah, but yeah, that's right. Well, you could put it in terms of energy as well. Your energy is up. Your high, your energy is super fast.
Okay.
So it's
I don't know what
crazy
to
to,
do. I don't.
yeah, yeah. No, that's right. Well, that's good. You don't know what to do because there's nothing you can do. But things will happen. They don't just happen because of what you do.
Yeah, no, I get that. In fact, okay, that it's happened maybe 3 times in the last couple of weeks where like I've something has been expressed through me without any of my input, and it's better than anything I could have done intentionally. But I don't have, I mean, obviously, I don't have any ability to
Yeah,
do that in the way that I want to do it.
right. But it happened, and consequently, it can find its way back because it happened. Your body knows how to do it, and that
Yeah.
that you showed yourself that possibility is brilliant, excellent stuff.
Gosh. Uh,
So all you can do, kind of, this is a bit of a weird one. All you can kind of do is present an invitation for it to come back and be present more. You can't make it happen. You can't do it. You can't go chasing it and find it because it's not findable. But it can happen again and again and then and actually settle in and become very familiar. There was a
yeah.
recognition of no doer or of things just happening. There was a recognition of that in those moments. 3 times.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Or
And I'll bet
at
you
least
in
my
those
my
times,
experience,
you're going,
at least my experience of it is like I just something happened and I realized after the fact, like, wait, that was kind of magical in a way that felt unusual.
hmm.
Um, the no doer stuff, I don't know if I'm going in circles with it or if it's really been helping.
Well,
Uh,
don't worry about it. You don't need to now. You've had those experiences. They're your they're your actual expression of that. You don't worry about the mind stories about it. That's just extra. Forget about it. Doesn't It's not helpful even. That experience, I'll bet you. Well, I imagine. I say I'll bet you. I feel confident, but I'm imagining that when you had those experiences, that things were much more flowy, much calmer and more flowing than the usual. The harmony was better. It's also unfamiliar for you. That's an interesting one too.
yeah, the word that came to mind that I don't know if I want to say it or not is unremarkable.
Hmm. Well, that's good.
Uh,
That's very remarkable.
yeah, I knew I wasn't gonna like saying
Yeah, that's excellent.
that.
I don't know how to express the positive feeling I got from unremarkable. I love that. That was really good. Right.
Of course, I can't manufacture unremarkable
Yeah.
because there's no
And
remark
it,
to it.
and
Or
it says something about a a base. It says something about something fundamental, something normal, ordinary. Those words are a bit shitty, but
well, it's okay. Like,
yeah, natural
mm,
maybe a better word.
okay, yeah.
No
What's
sharp
getting in the
edges
way
in
of
that
that?
either. Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't go down that road. Yeah, that's that's just a sneaky way to try and make it happen again. Just
Nope. Okay. Yeah,
recognize
so
that.
the anger I feel is unproductive. I think I can say, or I hope you will validate maybe. Uh, yeah.
What can be productive about that is recognizing that that is a protective response.
Okay. So yeah, I can do that too. Or I imagine that you mean just be a little kinder. Or
I don't know what that is. What do you mean by that?
if it's a protective response, it's not so personal. It's
That's right. Yeah, it's
I don't
just
have to hate
yeah,
it. I don't have to deal with it. It's just
yeah, sure. Well, it's not something you've got control over, but recognizing it as that gives you options, kind of thing. That was a bit stupid. Um, it opens up possibilities. That's a better way to put it.
yeah. Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, cool.
Mm. I can never get through a full breath without it feeling something wrong with it.
Without a feeling, what? I missed that word.
Without something feeling wrong about it.
Oh, okay.
Like
Yeah.
I'll hit a corner in the breath, a sharp edge, maybe a different one, but I don't know if I had a question. Just,
Yeah, yeah. Okay. No, that was interesting. Yeah. Well, that must be exhausting for you. You have to be ever vigilant, eh?
that's a good way to look at it. That is I'm interpreting that as it's my readiness for something to go wrong as opposed to just something going wrong that's hurting me there.
Yep. Good one. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Well, that could be the story of a lot of things in
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
life, in my life.
And not just the readiness, but the expectation that something will, that you have to be ready for, which is
That
an
something will go
extra,
wrong.
yeah, a whole extra layer there. That yeah, it's not the possibility of something going wrong; it's the inevitability of something going wrong. No wonder you're tired.
I don't know what to do with
Good.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to slow down. Uh,
Mm.
this week was, you're right. It felt like this week was a lot. But see, like stuff just does go.
Yeah.
don't know what to do.
Yeah,
It's like
well, see,
here. It's like I either don't know what to do, or I try and go into the mind or figure out, and then it's wrong,
yeah,
which is kind of an obvious choice when I frame it like that. But
yeah, yeah. There's no escape, is there?
there's no,
What
or I mean, I just gotta not. I think I just gotta not know, hoping
Yeah,
that you'll say yes, of course. But
yeah. I'm inclined to say play around with the memory of those three occurrences, being careful not to fall into the trap of either wanting or thinking that you can make them happen again, but being open to the possibility that they're going to be much more familiar in the future for you. So it's a mind fuck we're playing with. It's just we've got this really weird thing going where we want it to happen, but we don't want to chase it away by wanting it too much. We recognize the fact that it happened three times is a big signpost saying it can happen again, it can happen more.
yeah.
And we don't know how or why it came about. We don't know the circumstances. We can't control them, but we don't know. Right? So it's an invitation, an open invitation for us to experience it again and get more familiar with it and get to know it, but not so quickly that we start to feel like we can control it
Mm.
because we actually can't.
Okay.
And things will go wrong again, but that's an opportunity. Once you get past the bit where you see yourself as wrong,
Yeah.
then and that's when things will settle down and so on. So they're all opportunities, but you don't recognize the opportunity while ever you're in judgment mode. So it's all an experiment, a big experiment, and in every for almost everybody I work with, I would say, yeah, the details are important. Let's get into the details. But for you, it's the opposite. I would say too much detail is part of the problem.
Uh, okay. I hear that. That's upsetting.
Mm.
Mm.
So you've got a really big good thing going for you, and that is you've got an inquiring mind. But that's also an enemy for you. That inquiring mind gets so wound up that it can't stop sometimes. And that causes a whole lot of physical things as well, like sharpness, sharp edges, and so on.
Yeah. Mm.
There ain't no satisfaction here.
Huh?
I just almost came up with a song. There ain't no satisfaction here.
I know. I'm not gonna get it from you. This is what you're saying.
Mm.
Mm. Okay, that's fine. It's not that there's like something missing when I say I don't know. It's just like there's literally like a fullness of overwhelming not knowing.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to get you to help me with it. Well, actually, no, you don't help me with it at all. But it's much easier to try than to. I really get the sense that things are trying, my brain is trying to like drag me out of not knowing in any like positive stories, negative stories.
Mm.
Uh,
And that suggests to me that you recognize that there's some value in not knowing.
oh yeah, totally. I mean, or at least intellectually, and then maybe some starting of more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. In a way that when we accept that the value of not knowing, it's like we've just torn up the contract with our mind, and all of a sudden we're left with the potential for a different relationship to our mind, and we don't know what it is at this stage. No idea what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I have enjoyed kind of just sometimes it seems detrimental, but occasionally I'll just be curious, like truly curious. And it's really nice to just kind of like explore, even if it's thinking. You have any plans for tonight?
I'll spend an hour with my wife before bed. How's things been for you, Leonard?
Quite fine. I have been in a discovery mode again. For example, last weekend I went to Berlin to celebrate my sister's birthday, and I had quite an interesting experience because, yeah, I could not really tune into the adult conversations, so to speak. But then there was a friend of my sister, and she came with her child. I don't really know. Maybe the child is like 3 years old or 4 years old. And then it was quite interesting because the child at first was like maybe a bit tired or like not in such a good mood, and it was afraid of my sister's dogs, although she knows the dog already and usually was not afraid. But then I kind of started an interaction with this child, and then I did like funny faces, and then we were hiding and seeking and hiding, and it ended like a pillow fight. So, like half of the party, I was really just playing with this child, and I didn't know her so well before. So, but it was interesting how this child could just like flip from being like in this I don't want to be here to like having fun from 1 second to the other. And maybe it's also that I don't really have so many children around me usually, but I noticed that in the past, yeah, I think I would usually feel slightly uncomfortable with children because I felt like, I can't pretend anything in front of children because they notice that you are wearing a mask or something. And maybe I would like interact with children, but then like feel, I don't know, a bit, yeah, but that's just like something very subtle. And I didn't have that anymore at all. And it was just like this experience of being in a flow. And I enjoyed that so much. And I got like really, yeah, I got like really silly. And it was like as if I was a child myself. And it
Mm.
was a lot of fun. Just, uh, yeah. And there was just like a moment I noticed that. I mean, we talked about this before, like things just falling off of you without you noticing it. And yeah, that was quite a cool experience.
Yeah,
And
great. Yeah.
yeah, then I also had some nice experience in nature. I went to the lake, and it's like super cold here, and Um, everything like the lake is frozen and it's covered with snow. And then at the same time there was a fog. So I went on to the ice, and then I was like surrounded by everything was white and you could not distinguish anything anymore. And then I had like the spontaneous just spontaneously I started to turn around, and then at some point I fell into the snow, and it was like just yeah, I can't really explain why, but it was just like a very nice
Yeah, yeah.
experience. And
So
then
that was you being a child again, discovering
yeah,
the world
maybe,
or
yeah.
something. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
great. Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, the other thing is that I mean, I'm currently unemployed, but like in the last years, I already felt kind of like that I don't want to continue with this teaching
Mm,
job.
hmm.
So I did some trainings just to find out what I want to do, and it was like more or less life coaching, although I don't really
Yes.
like this. I mean, in German, it sounds weird. I don't know, because I think I have also noticed that there are a lot of life coaches who tell you attend my coaching, and then in 5 months you will sit in Hawaii and have billions of dollars or something, or like
Yeah,
promising people
yeah, yeah,
success or this fulfilled life that everything will be like super different.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
so I don't really like to call it coaching, but I'm
yeah, yeah.
practicing it with like two people I know,
Hmm.
and they are currently in a situation where they feel a bit stuck within their life, and or not, yeah, or they need orientation to find out how to come out of that.
Yeah. So
Or
you'll
what I
help them
do.
to discover possibilities.
Yes, and the thing which is like a bit tricky for me is that doing that, I have to operate with concepts that, from a non-duality perspective, I myself don't really hold
Mm.
them to be true, but I see that they are actually helping the people,
Yeah,
you know? I mean,
yeah,
maybe not on a long run, but in this situation, because I mean, it's all about this thing that to discover what you experience for yourself as something
yeah, yeah.
meaningful, for example. And I can see that at some point people need that story
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh,
to
look,
motivate
concepts are
themselves.
concepts are
And
very useful. Yeah.
I can see that I myself sometimes need it, but I think it's still good to know that it's something relative, that it's just a story, and that it can't
That's a
work
big thing. Yeah.
forever, you know? Like,
That
but I
that you
also
know it's a
try,
story. Yeah.
but I also kind of try to make people aware of that. So,
Mm.
for example, with one of my um, practicing persons, I also had like a session about roles, and like to detect what are your roles and do you really need to play them, and which kind of roles are maybe exhausting, or others
Yeah.
are experienced as something worthwhile.
Yep.
So yeah, it's sometimes just a little bit tricky, because I noticed that I also have to find my own style, kind of,
Sure.
with
Yep.
which I'm comfortable to not have the feeling that I'm selling something to people that I don't really
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
find good.
Uh, So instead of
But
life coaching, maybe reality training is a better way of
yeah,
looking at it.
because I noticed that many coaching programs, they promise this kind of the perfect life and the total success and this kind of
Well, that's
thing,
not
and
reality, though, is it?
that would, yeah, and then as if you had to change your life completely. And my experience now with my test persons is also that maybe, for example, if there are like three areas in your life that people are not so content with, and then it also works just to change one a bit, and then this will affect the others.
Yeah,
So, and it's not always even about like making a total change, like outward change, but just like a shift of perspective can also
absolutely.
help.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
That's it. The
I mean,
relationship to
yeah,
circumstances. Yeah, not the circumstances.
but sometimes it's a bit tricky because I can't I mean, I can't really talk to people about self as an
Mm.
illusion because that would be just like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
going a bit far for them if they're not
yeah.
into that thing. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, recognizing concepts and relating to the stories that they tell themselves that get themselves into trouble, that's pretty valuable stuff for most people. Yeah. Sounds good.
No,
I like it. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like I noticed that sometimes it's like, oh, does that really help people? But then I got like very good feedback and I could see that there had happened a change. And then I really feel like, yeah, that's something I would like to do.
Yeah.
I find this
Thank you.
super interesting because I mean, you always get also like things from other people's life to reflect on,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and it's not so stressful, and I don't have to stand in front of like 24 people, and yeah, it's just like I can interact with one person and see, yeah, I don't know, an outcome, or maybe that people
Yeah. Yeah.
that even that I think it's just like it just does people good to have someone who listens to them often.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Absolutely.
have
Yeah.
to offer like the super clever solution or something. It's
Yeah.
just
That's right. Yeah. You're not the
yeah.
man with the answers. You're the man with the questions.
I just noticed everybody's gone already, so I don't want to keep you from spending time with your wife.
That's all right. Yeah. We'll wind up in a moment. Yeah. I really like what I'm hearing you. That sounds really good stuff, and it's helping the world in a good way. I like
Mm,
that as well. Yeah, and you'll find that occasionally, one or two, if you're doing this on a regular basis, you'll come across those who are also on a quote spiritual path, but
mm,
not
yeah.
kill the spiritual and bring it back to real life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
another thing that I noticed is I think that there was still like a rest within me that held this belief, like a bit abstract of I don't know, like it sounds like super stupid, like an all-pervading power or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just it was like a little bit of this kind of nice story to tell to myself, and I
But
just
but you see it.
noticed,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And that's fine. Yeah.
I just noticed that it was there, and then I really inquired into myself, like, do okay, is this like something that I really know? That I can really experience, or is that like just a belief that would be nice if it were like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, yeah,
And both can be true, and you'll know. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can't know if it's like that or not, but
Mm.
it's not, yeah, it's just like interesting to, um, how does it feel if I don't hold on to this belief?
Still
And
feels
then,
nice.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
um,
So doing this work, you'll discover lots more about yourself than you
mm,
you ever thought possible. Yeah.
mm,
And stuff will come up like that, but you'll see it. And when you see it, it's different. You have a different relationship to it because you see it. And if it's
mm,
stuff that's not real, it'll drop away as well.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah. I can't for a moment believe that you would get lost in feeling superior to anybody.
mm. I didn't really associate this with feeling superior. I mean,
Hmm. Well, or any ego stuff.
mm,
Certainly that'll get triggered, but you'll see it, and as you see it, it will have a different effect. It will drop away. So
Yeah.
you still feel good, but just feeling good doesn't mean that it's wrong.
For me, actually, this kind of, yeah, realizing that I can't know anything actually, that made me feel more humble and not
Yes.
superior. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah.
and
But
yeah,
when people are
also,
giving you that positive feedback, though, it can be a bit easy to get sucked into that one.
okay. Ah, okay, now you were talking about the coaching
Mm.
thing. Ah, okay. Um, no, I wouldn't say superior because
Mm.
I'm still not feeling like so overly confident with this because sometimes I wonder like oh, what did I tell this person and does it really
Yeah.
work
And
for
you'll
this for
you'll
him or
work on
her?
feedback. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm rather like testing out like if things really reach people or not, or if they work for them or not. It's not so
Yeah.
much, yeah.
And you'll
So
keep polishing that, and that'll get better and
yeah,
better. Yeah.
mm,
And
yeah,
then you'll
but
come
it's
across somebody that it doesn't work for, but that doesn't mean that you're wrong. It
mm,
just, yeah,
but I really like this mirroring like listening and like repeating it and asking like did I understand
yeah,
it in the correct way, and then I have to readjust this, and then what I also do after the session is like, I mean, I make my notes and then the person will receive a summary of what he or she said about her experience, and then it's also for her or him to check if he
yeah.
feels that it's right for him or not. And
Good one. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I like that. Mm. All right, well, I'm going to go now. Thank you. Yeah,
enjoy your
good stuff.
time with your wife before going to bed.
All right, thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.